Okay. Hello and welcome to Leggs. Welcome back to Leggs. Welcome to Leggs for your first time. This is where we embark on the journey through the nuanced terrain of motion and emotion, exploring how the act of physical activity intertwines with our need for connection and belonging. I'm your host, as always, Will, and I'm honored to guide you through another exploration of the significance of movement in our day-to-day lives and how this all adds up to feeling just a little less lonely. Less lonely? Less lonely. Whatever. So, we've been painted seemingly into a corner of solitude and disconnection between our devices, between all the advice we're getting from people across the internet. Everyone knows better than everyone else. It's a whole rigmarole. And anyway, on Leggs, we venture into the realm where our solitary paths converge with a shared experience. The conversations we have with these individuals uncover the ways in which physical activity, yes, mainly running, but other stuff too, serves to bridge the chasm of loneliness that we're faced with daily. So, here we're going to be talking to the track stars, the trail monsters, the brands, the shops, the clubs, and anyone else that has said, hey, I got a story to tell, even if they don't think they do. And we share the profound ways in which motion shapes the perception of self and community. Today is special. Today is another episode of Cash Only. We haven't done one of these in a minute. And I love these because we get a peek behind the curtain of some of our favorite brands, whether you know them or you're about to know them. So last time I think we talked to James and Lauren from the collective, the running collective. And before that, we heard from Paige from Heartbreak. Today, we're talking to Alex King of Terignota, based out of Leavenworth, Washington, which, if you're familiar, is Washington's answer, I guess, to Christmas markets in Europe. I don't know. If you've ever been there, you know what that means. If not, it's a really cool little town in the mountains of Washington state. Beautiful area, perfect for trail running, perfect for sightseeing, perfect for holiday getaways, and perfect for a little brand that will be making big waves in the running community, Terignota. So, strap in, sit down, stand up, go for a run, whatever you want to do. All I ask is that you listen, because Alex is onto something very special here. In an era where running shorts, running vests are costing upwards of almost $1,000, Terignota is bringing us back to reality and doing it with quality and style and an ethos that we can all get behind. So, this is Alex King and Terignota on Cash Only for Leggs. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are here with another installment of Cash Only on Leggs. Today, we are talking to Alex King from Terignota. Comes to us via one of our Leggs alum, Summer Kreisman. And I am just going to pass the mic over to Alex. Alex, hello, welcome to Leggs. If you could give us a short intro about yourself, where you are, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, my name is Alex, and I founded Terignota maybe 4 months ago. Seems like forever ago, but wasn't really that long ago. Based here in Leavenworth, Washington, and yeah, right now in the Terignota World headquarters. Um,
Do you have a a mantra or like a personal mission that you try to live your life by?
yeah, I don't know if it's really a mantra, but you never know till you go. Very simply, and it's just like there's so often I think we perceive the challenges or the future problems that might arise and just like decide it's too hard before we even try or whatever, or decide it's not realistic. But like you never know what's going to happen until you give it a shot. So you never know till you go is like a yeah.
At Leggs, the one of the founding principles, I think, of why I started this whole whatever I'm calling like a community journal or a repository of unpopular takes at this point was first and foremost sort of this idea that through running, through physical activity, we can be less lonely. We can connect with others, sort of find ourselves in a better mental state, whatever better means to you. But on the flip side of that also is this kind of idea that when we are moving, when we are in motion, or being physically active, something in our brain unlocks, and we have the ability then to become maybe a more productive member of society or be happier with ourselves, and therefore we can become better for the people around us. Uh, this is a very long-winded question, or a long-winded way to get to the question of what do you do personally to keep your body in motion, to keep yourself physically active?
Yeah, yeah, I really resonate with the like you unlock something in your brain when you're being physically active because I always whenever I'm doing my own physical activities, I'm always like having ideas, having thoughts for Terignota or other things, and just like I have a list of notes on my phone that I just uh mid-run pull out, jot down, and yeah, I tend to always seem to have my best ideas right in the middle of physical activity, when I can have the most clear mind space. But in terms of like what those physical activities are, it's kind of yeah, a huge mixed bag. Obviously, trail running is like my main, I would say my most consistent physical activity. But then, yeah, I like really love riding my bike. I got really into gravel biking in yeah at the end of last year and have yeah loved that addition to my movement. And yeah, I also yeah climbing, skiing, alpine climbing, all the things. Yeah.
What's the I guess, on getting back to sort of like the principles I was mentioning about being less lonely and unlocking sort of that creative side of your brain through physical activity, but also sort of the productive side of being happier with yourself. Um, what do you do in Leavenworth to find yourself part of a community? Like, are you actively seeking that out? Kind of a lone wolf?
Yeah, it's something I'm still working on for sure. I moved here in October, um, so I haven't been here that long, and there like I have found a good community here. But yeah, something I'm still working on because like it's winter time, people are hibernating, people are leaving. Not the best, but yeah, and like I think we'll get to this later as well, but with Tergnota is like something one of the reasons I wanted to build Tergnota was to like build a running community. And yeah, so it's something I'm still working on, but just having people to get out on runs with and uh yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you moved to Leavenworth, which is, if people don't know, it's a smaller town, sort of insular, buried kind of in the mountains of Washington,
It's
right?
a smaller town, but
Yeah.
it's much bigger than the town I moved from. So
Oh,
to me,
wow.
it feels
Okay.
like a big town.
Where did you move from?
I moved from Trout Lake, Washington, which
Okay.
is right at the base of Mount Adams. And, Trout Lake is a town of, I don't know, 600, 700 maybe.
Okay.
Um, and so Leavenworth is like 4 times as big as Trout Lake.
Like yeah, you're like in the Manhattan of Washington Mountains.
Yeah.
Um, that's really interesting. I think there's a lot more to explore there with how you kind of create community out of maybe not nothing, but moving to a place like that where there is a lot of, I don't know, I've only, like I said, I've only been there once, so I didn't like have a chance to really connect with anyone there,
Yeah.
but I'm curious to sort of understand your process or need, I guess, to create that community aspect in your life in Leavenworth. Yeah, I guess, what's been like sort of the process of even going about starting to find community in a town like
Yeah. I mean, um, I knew a few people here before I moved here. It's like Jenny and Maya and CJ were a few people I knew before I moved here, and they've been like just having like a few core people you can kind of rely on to like get a foot in the door of in the into the community has been like a really essential part of meeting people. And yeah, I feel like through that doorway, I've had a lot of really cool connections, whether it's yeah, just personal connections or like community community around Terignota and people who can like are stoked on building and helping me build Terignota, which has been awesome. And one of them, Jenny, connected me with this photographer Jules, who was psyched on doing trail running photography. And yeah, so we got out and like did a photo shoot for Terignota, and that was super fun. And she's been a great addition to the community. To my, I mean, she was already here, obviously, but she's been a great addition to my community. And um, yeah, my friend Jenny, she has been like such a essential part to just like putting the fingers out into the community and be like, hey, this dude just moved to town. He's cool. Like you should talk to him or whatever. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I think having like at least one little nugget of entry, and sometimes that nugget of entry is not like not a person. It's just like trail running or whatever. You show up to it. Yeah.
What's like the run club scene like in Leavenworth? Is there one?
No.
No. Okay.
No, it's Leavenworth
Terignota's
is not.
taken over.
Yeah, no, I mean I would love to like start a run club here, because there are a lot of people who run, but uh it's more of there are a lot of people who run, but I would say few people who call themselves runners because it's more of like a mountain community. There's tons
Mhm.
of climbers, skiers, um, who all overlap into the running community. Obviously, it all, yeah, has a very overlapping Venn diagram, but very, very few people who like, yeah, I would say call themselves runners,
Yeah.
or at least runners first.
What is Tergnota all about? Let's start there. Just the overarching sort of summary. I read the website and everything, but I'd like to get it from your
Yeah,
perspective.
of course. Yeah, Terignota. I started Terignota because I thought the running world, trail running specifically, needed a brand that was focused on making trail running accessible to more people, and that's like the mission statement of Terignota is making trail running more accessible to all. Um, and yeah, I started Terignota because I didn't think there needed to be another apparel brand. I don't think we need any more apparel brands, but I do think that there needs to be an apparel brand that is focused on making gear at an affordable price. Because like the whole market is, yeah, just continues to go up and up in price, and it's getting kind of crazy, and we can get into that more. But I mean, I think my like personal like I, I needed there to be a Tergnota in like
Mhm.
my personal life. Getting into trail running is like you can do like a 5K park run in I don't know, Walmart shorts and shoes and shirt, and it's totally fine, whatever. But I think like any step above that, or if you want to improve your personal trail running, you don't have to be at the top of the game, but if you just want to like take your running to the next level, like it all of a sudden becomes uh, actually quite an expensive sport when it's like theoretically this very simple, free sport. Everybody can like throw on a pair of shoes and run. But when you get down to the realities of what that means in terms of like the money you have to spend, it starts becoming pretty crazy. And yeah, so like I think it's important for a brand like Tergnota to exist because I don't know where I was going with this, but my like personally, I wanted to be like the highest end of trail running. Like I wanted to pursue elite trail running, and for me to do that without a sponsor, without anything, was becoming like an incredibly expensive endeavor. Whether it's like traveling to races, buying gels, and buying apparel and shoes, obviously. And like it just doesn't need to be that way. Uh, Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why a brand like Terignota, who can provide, because it is performance apparel, who can provide performance apparel at prices that are as reasonable as possible while still existing is, I think, just an important like chunk to put in there that I think was missing.
Yeah. Curious from your perspective on the brand side of things. I think you brought up a really interesting point in there about, I mean, how expensive things have gotten, and there's add-ons upon add-ons that people can make to their kit to what they perceive the sport, like the correct way to do the sport is. How do you think we got here? If we've got brands like Terignota now kind of like, coming up, I well, not even like Terignota, but Terignota specifically,
Yeah.
looking at all the other price points, like how do you think we got to where it's acceptable to charge $500 for a vest?
Yeah, I like it's just it's been this like slow. There was no like, or from my perspective, there was no like point where it's like, okay, now we can charge, yeah, $500 for a freaking pair of shorts, like that some companies do.
Yeah.
There was no like before and after point. It's just been like this very slow and consistent rise of prices like across the board
Mhm.
throughout the industry. And like, once one company or one brand is like, okay, we're going to charge, our product is better, or like we're going to make it feel better to the customer. So in order to do that, we have to charge more than the other brands
Mhm.
to like make that perceived value there. And so they charge $30 more than everybody else. And then the other brand's like, well, we want to make that $30 too. So we're just gonna bring it up there. And like it's this slow rise of the whole industry doing this over and over and over again. And there's nobody stopping them. There's nobody like going in the other direction or like showing people that that doesn't actually have to be the way of prices. Like, sure, like, yes, inflation is a real thing, but not to the point of the prices that the trail running industry has like become. Um, and but I also think once those brands like raise the prices and have this margin to play with, like they're gonna play with that margin. They're gonna spend it. And like so it's difficult to impossible for brands to go the other direction with prices because they've already spent the margin that
Mhm.
or budgeted for the margin that they have with their gear. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so like how we got here is just like a slow rise of every brand like egging each other on to charge more for prices and like showing the other brands that customers will pay that price for kit.
Within that sort of price point too, there's an identity. There's
Oh
a
yeah.
if I pay this, it means I'm part of sort of a special club. And we've seen that a ton with brands lately. Uh, there's like a, almost a FOMO aspect if you're not wearing it, or there's an inclusion aspect if you are wearing it. Um, from a Terragnota perspective, someone buys your shirt, buys your hat, puts on anything from you guys. What do you want that person to feel? Like what's sort of like the vibe you guys want?
It I think it is a tricky balance with like the vibe that we want to put out there as a brand because like the gear is performance apparel
Mhm.
and it can uh it like competes with or exceeds anything we've tried that's on the market. And so we want like it is a valuable product. And so it's a hard balance because yeah, we're selling shorts for $29 and so like it's so easy for consumers who've been uh just like in the general marketplace to be like, oh, it's $29, it's a cheap pair of shorts. I can get the same thing at Walmart or whatever.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, it is performance apparel. Yeah, I want Terignota to feel like uh a brand you can feel at home with, you can feel comfortable with, and you can feel like welcomed to. Like when you put on Terignota gear, like I want it to feel like an old friend who is there to just like support whatever challenge you want to put yourself into or whatever challenge gets put your way.
So I guess I want to backtrack a little bit into we talked about the price points and points of entry. And I think I really like how you sort of describe this as an old friend, someone that, is accessible and will be there for you. Um, what do you think is like the biggest barrier for people wanting to get into to trail running, knowing that your mission for the brand is, on a mission to make trail running accessible to all? What are the barriers people are up against?
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot of there's a lot of barriers to trail running. In some sense, there's having access to a trail, I think is one of like the biggest, because that's just like a physical barrier. Um, Having the right gear to make trail running enjoyable, knowing where to start and like having the confidence to go on a trail, I think is a big one.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think there's like tons of different aspects, big or small, to the challenges or of getting into trail running. And obviously there's a lot that Terignota is not addressing at the moment. Um, but we have to start somewhere. So we decided
Mhm.
to start with making trail gear more affordable and, have it making trail gear that you can enjoy trail running in. Um, I think in the future, there's like a lot of ideas and ways that we would like to address the other ones, whether it's, yeah, trail work or run clubs helping people, yeah, get into trail running. And there's a lot of like little ways, ideas I have to do that. But yeah, right now we're addressing one very specific challenge, and like, yeah, that's all we can do at the moment.
That's great. What's sort of the end goal for Terragnota then?
Yeah, I don't know if there is an end goal for Terginota. Uh,
Yeah.
for me personally, I just like love building things.
Mhm.
And so I want to like continue building Terragnota in as many aspects of outdoor and trail, and like continue the growth
Mhm.
of the brand with this same ethos and mission into as many aspects of like physical movement as possible.
Switching over a little bit, because we've touched on some heavy topics in there with price points and other brands and all that good stuff. But I would love to know, being a fresh brand in this space, especially with I think the rise of trail running over the course of the last few years has been amazing and definitely excellent. But also, I know that not everyone sees it that way. I think that there's people that don't see it as such a positive thing
Yeah.
sometimes. But I would love to just sort of get your honest take on the state, the world of running today. Like, what do you think about where we are right now with trail
Yeah.
running, with running in general?
I think we are at an interesting point in trail running because I think it's generally accepted that trail running is and has and is becoming much more professionalized. But I think the professionalization is like at a very strange state because
Mm.
we're shifting towards um, these like, yeah, we're just shifting towards a more professional vibe in trail running, whether it's like meeting the highest end performance and doing, there's these like very key races that everybody is coalescing around, whether it's like, yeah, the UTMB series, Golden Ticket series, Golden Trail, whatever. Um, and the brands, I think, are also wanting the sport to become more professionalized or pushing the sport in that way,
Hmm.
um, and getting behind these things. But I think it's this weird, like, false professionalization because while like the energy around trail running feels like it's getting much more professional, like the athletes in it aren't professionals of this. I mean, they are getting paid, but they're not. So many of them have to have other jobs, and like the professionals of the sport aren't like pure professional trail runners. There's a few, but not all of them. So it's like this weird phase where it's like going very getting very professionalized, but then also like the participants of it are still not. haven't caught up to like the mentality of the sport kind of like, yeah, there's not a ton of trail runners who can like call themselves professional trail runners and only professional trail runners.
Mhm. Do you think that with the sort of new interest from some of the bigger brands and a lot of eyeballs and investments going towards trail running, from a financial standpoint, there's going to be a shift in that? You think there's going to be a lot more professional athletes that get into it, or the pay is going to start to be different?
I hope,
Yeah,
like, yeah, I hope, s some of the money that that the brands are getting from the sport becoming more professionalized, yeah, goes to, you know, making the athletes or helping the athletes match that professionalization in their own lifestyles.
sure.
Um, yeah, like another aspect of that is that while the sport is becoming very professionalized, I also like really miss the adventure side of trail running, which I think is like getting left behind and being devalued or less valued by the brands. And I hope I also hope I don't think this I'm not sure this is going to happen, but I hope that part comes back into the sport more and brands can value adventures and like personal missions and stories alongside races.
Is this attention on trail running sort of beneficial to the sport? Is it detrimental? I don't think it's necessarily a black or white like that. I think there's a lot of gray area in there, like you were mentioning. Um, but trail running in particular, and I think, getting back to sort of the Terignota mission of making trail running accessible to all, there could be a case to be made for almost shying away from some of these larger races. Like going for a golden ticket is a monumental task, and a lot of people are doing it, and it's great. That's awesome. I'm not devaluing that. But also, if that is sort of what is the popular talk track, like you've got these 100-mile races, you've got all these, qualifiers, whatever it may be, the popular races. How do you how does Tergnota then sort of promote interjecting the adventure side of trail running again? Like, what's the brand, or is the
Yeah.
brand doing something to help reinvigorate sort of the adventure into
Yeah.
trail
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're like a tiny little brand still and just launched, 4 months ago. So
running?
I haven't done that much at this moment. But yeah, I mean, our like tagline is explore your unknown, which is, uh, I think it gets at the vibe of you don't need to be doing UTMB or like winning Western States or whatever to like have a valuable story and have a valuable like addition to trail running. Like there are so many cool projects out there that whether or not it's yeah, winning a race or even setting like some fastest known time on a route. There's like so many cool personal projects that I hope Terignota can help support in the future. Of just like every person exploring what's passionate to them, or what they're passionate about, um, and what like pushes their own limits and how they can find their own unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was sort of hoping you'd say, and I didn't mean to go so overt with like what's Terragnota going to be doing to kind of support
Yeah.
that adventure, but you definitely have it within the brand ethos, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
I just think that there's such a seemingly disparate path or narrative around like the trail running for the sake of adventure and then the trail running for the sake of notoriety. And I think we're kind of what you just see right now is sort of this like circle of notoriety, and there's not a lot of I guess public facing stories about just sort of the adventure, because that kind of goes against sort of like doing it for yourself and doing it just for the adventure of it. But that's kind of why legs exist too. I'm trying to find those smaller stories and tell those, not just the popular ones. So I guess in terms of an area that might still need a bit of improvement in the world of trail running. I think we've talked a lot about sort of what we hope is still going to happen in the next 5 years or in the next 6 months or whatever. But where do you think? Maybe we've kind of answered this too, but where do you think an area of
Yeah.
improvement for the world of running, maybe just in general, is right now?
Personal, like shameless plug, but I started Terignota because that's where I think the improvement in trail running needs to be. Like I said before, I don't think there needs to be another apparel brand, and I don't think there needs to be another shoe brand. Like good apparel exists, good shoes exist, and yeah, we're gonna make incremental progress on like making those better. And Terignota wants to be in that train of making better products, helping people go faster, farther, whatever. But I think the gap in trail running is that all of that stuff is like at this point that most people have no access to, or like have to really go out on a financial limb to drop 250 bucks on a pair of shoes that, may or may not work for them. So yeah, I think the gap in trail running that still exists is the gap that Terginota is trying to fill.
Yeah, and I commend those efforts. I think it's a much needed one too, and it showcases the fact that you don't need to spend $1 million to get into something, but also you don't just need to wear Walmart stuff either,
Yeah.
right? Like you were mentioning. Kind of getting over to our dear legs column or the advice column of the interview. It seems like there's across the internet, from running influencers to run clubs, whatever it might be. There's a ton of like why you should run, and a run club for seemingly every different personality type and skill level and dating pool or whatever it is that you're looking for out of a running community. But uh, if you were personally to give someone a piece of advice for or as they were starting to approach trail running, what would be what would be something you'd tell them?
Yeah. I think what I would tell somebody when if they like are wanting to get into trail running or just running more generally, I guess, is be consistent or like commit to like, I don't know, a month of like giving it a shot. Don't just like maybe you'll go on your first run and you'll absolutely love it and you'll be hooked on your first try. But we all have runs that are not that fun and then runs that are like we feel like we're on top of the world. And so I think when you're getting into trail running, like give yourself time to like, or give yourself and give your body time to like learn the joy of trail running. Like I don't think it's always like an immediate gratification you get from trail running. I think it's like something you have to commit to a little bit and spend more time doing to like find the real joy of trail running. So I think if somebody was getting into trail running, all I would say is like, yeah, commit a month to it, to doing it like I don't know, go run a couple times a week for a month and like just give yourself that time to like find what trail running can bring you.
Mhm. Do you remember your moment of joy when you first knew that this was going to be the path you were taking?
There was not like one enlightenment moment for my trail running.
Oh, come on.
No, but when I was in high school, I went around Mount Adams, which is not, I mean, not really a trail run. Most of it's you're walking,
Mhm.
but it's same vibe. And yeah, I think it was just really cool to be able to like realize you can cover all this diverse terrain very simply, and like you can go a long ways if you just keep moving forward. And yeah, I think like those big adventure days are what made me keep pursuing trail running.
We talked a little bit about like run clubs and community and all that and advice, but you touched on this at the beginning too. But what is Terignota's plan to plug into the local community? Like, what are you going to do to foster and support the runners in Leavenworth or abroad?
Right now it's a bit tricky because yeah, we're based out of this third floor old hotel room in a building in downtown, which is not like very community facing.
Mhm.
Um, but we're looking at right now some other options or some new spaces. And so this may or may not happen, but pretty excited about it personally if it does and would like to make it happen. Looking at some new spaces that have like a little storefront would be more community facing, and a place that we could one run our business out of, to have a little storefront for people to come. But like more importantly and exciting to me would be like have a small community meeting area in Leavenworth for, people. It doesn't even need to be revolving around running, but people can just hang out, do their work, have like just a community gathering space, which I think Leavenworth is in particular is really missing, but also use that space to, yeah, bring people together for group runs, bring the running community in Leavenworth together, which I think because there are a lot of people in Leavenworth who run, and I think, yeah, even just a simple run club in Leavenworth would be a good benefit to the community where there's not a lot of activities or events in Leavenworth, particularly around running itself. So yeah, having a space that can help us foster community is like the first step in getting there, and is something I'm excited about and I'm working on right now.
You keep saying this thing about someone running versus being a runner, and I think that there's a huge, not a huge disparity between the two, but I think that's an important disparity between the two in how you identify with the sport or with the activity. And I don't know, it's something that I've been sort of thinking about. And my friend actually was talking to me about this too. He grew up in London, and it was, there was a professional footballer that was talking about, well, I play football, I'm not a footballer. And there was this like talk track that we kind of got down and went into the weeds with. So I think that the importance of runners versus people who run, there's almost like I don't know, that shouldn't be your end goal, right? To become a runner, maybe. You should
Yeah,
to like enjoy the sport,
you can
enjoy
just
the
enjoy
time.
running. You don't have to
Right.
be a runner. Yeah.
All right. So moving into sort of putting our crystal ball hats on or whatever
Yeah.
it is. What is the prediction you have for the future of running?
Yeah, I don't know if I have any hot takes.
Takes. Hot takes.
Yeah. Future of running. Yeah, I don't know if I have a hot take here.
Okay. What do you what
Yeah.
what do you see happening within the next 1 year to 5 years?
I see trail running continuing to like have a very strong growth. And what I hope will happen in the next 5 years is that I think there has been this like big push for performance, and like, super shoes and bicarb and ketones and all like the little interventions of performance have been I don't know, last 1 or 2 year, like the last couple of years have been like this big push of performance and these like little gains, mostly geared toward the professional aspect of the sport because, yeah, you're not a few percentage points on all this effort. So I think like or what I hope is that people can get past the huge push in this like let's go for the perfect human specimen performance. And while I hope that still exists, I hope that the focus of trail running, kind of as we talked about before, is like shifted back to more of like the soul of trail running and the why of trail running. And like, I don't think most people's why of trail running is these last few percent of ketones and this stuff. But I think like the mentality of the sport has made it seem like that for the last couple of years. And so I hope that we can get back to like the real reason why people trail running and what it brings to everybody's life, and whether or not, and like even if it involves races, like the adventure side of racing, it's like a personal adventure going through a race or whatever, the adventure side of running. That's what I hope the next 5 years of trail running involves, is like bringing back the soul of trail running and just the joy of doing it and why we all do it. And I think even the people who are at the very top of the sport have this, like they have to have this,
Yeah.
is why they're so good at trail running and why they love it so much. But I think it gets overlooked. Like the only things that get talked about for those people are like the performance gains and how they're doing them.
That's why people get lost in the forest in the first place, right? Like it's to go learn something about themselves. And if we're just out there for the competition aspect of it, we're missing out on the one of the primal forces behind why people were into trail running in the beginning.
And
Yeah.
why people are still in trail running, it's
Right.
just is like less in the current mindset of trail
Right.
running.
So what is on the horizon for Terignota? I mean, you don't have to disclose too much information if it's all hush hush, but
Yeah.
what's next? What's up?
Well, like the immediate horizon is like get our shit together with inventory. We're like, yeah, sold out of a bunch of stock right now. So getting our inventory stabilized so we can like have stuff in stock, people can actually buy things. That's on the immediate horizon. Simultaneously and a little bit farther out is looking to like build out our product portfolio more. And right now I'm working on developing a running jacket and a hydration pack. I don't have a timeline for the hydration pack because like want to get it super dialed, obviously, before releasing it. There's tons of like little fun product projects I'm always tinkering with, working on building out our product portfolio and also trying to engage more with the community like we talked about before, I
Yeah.
think is a big one.
You keep saying our and us. Are there
Yeah.
multiple heads at
No,
Terignota?
no, it's just me.
It's
I
you.
just
Yeah.
Terignota and me equals we, I guess.
Equals me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terignota is all of us. We are all Terignota.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, finally, shout outs. Anyone you want to thank? Anyone we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of people I want to like thank for helping me with Terignota and like just being supportive. I could list a million. I don't know if I just want to list names now
You
though,
can do whatever
but
you want. You can say you know who you are, or you can list
yeah,
names.
yeah. I think one shout out I want to give. This has nothing to do with Terignota. Terignota is not associated with this person at all. But one shout out I do want to give is, and it does kind of fit in with the vibe of the conversation we've had Nathan Longhurst. I don't know if you know who he is, but you should know who he is.
Okay, I
Um,
do now. No.
he just finished the New Zealand 100. He's from Washington, but he just finished the New Zealand 100 Peaks Challenge, which is climbing 100 of these iconic peaks in New Zealand. And I think the coolest thing about what he just did, well, is first of all, it's like this mega achievement that he just did, and like I don't even know if I mean, he's made posts on Instagram about it, but like he would never, yeah, he's just like so humble about it. He's just like out there doing it. Um, and he did it 99% solo and following along his stories uh, for the last, I don't know, few months that he's been doing it is, and seeing him putting himself out there every day on these insanely exposed glaciers, alpine ridges, whatever.
Mhm.
And he paraglides off many of them and links many of them up via paraglider. And yeah, I just think it's such a cool challenge that he did. And seeing his struggles throughout the way of like throughout the him doing it of like why. Yeah, there was a point, I don't know, when he was at peak 70 or something where he was like questioning why he was even out here doing it and what his like drive behind it was. I just want to give a shout out to Nathan Longhurst. He just finished the New Zealand 100 Peaks Challenge because it's something that inspired him and he committed to it and he went and did it for no external reason other than he was, I don't know his exact reasons, but from what I gather,
It was there. It
yeah.
existed, so we had to do it.
I think more people should know about it because it's very cool. And
Okay, good to know.
unfortunately, we all missed out on watching it from Instagram stories because it's already done, but
Ah,
I'm sure there'll be more.
okay, Alex. That's all I got for you today. Thanks so much for chatting with us. This was great. I'm excited to have the world listen to you and help spread the word of Terragnota. And next time I'm in Leavenworth, I'll look you up.
Yeah, reach out.
Awesome, dude.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thank you.